The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios.
Hi, this is Mia Mosinzia, also known as Mia No Time for Love. Check out my latest book, Missing, available on Amazon.
The Mike Wagner Show, also brought to you by The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, available on Amazon, highlighting the Book of David.
It's now time for the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, YouTube, iTunes, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. Mike brings you great guests and interesting people from all across the globe. So sit back, relax, and enjoy another great episode of the Mike Wagner Show.
Hey everybody, it's Mike from the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Mosinzia, Missing, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Coming soon, Missing 2, Double Expense, Double the Fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, including 30 exquisite pains and King David Psalms. Amazon.com, keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner, and check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, 50 podcast platforms, heard in 110 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, BitChute, Rumble, and YouTube, and follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok, and more today. We're here with an amazing layout, Jackson Center, Ohio, who's an author, buyer, and seller of vintage fabric and also textiles for 20 plus years. Also an owner of Etsy store, which she is also a quilter, carpenter, grandmother, and more. And her stories garnered national attention, leading up to several podcast appearances, signed with TV producer Yvonne Bernard with Lookout Entertainment, and also a Grammy Whammy. We'll talk more about that. And has a new book out, which chronicles a journey in the world of fabrics. It's called Pod Oddities. She's got an Etsy bookstore out there, fabric auctioning, the world of fabrics, plus has a children's book out. Live, ladies and gentlemen, the Plus Studios in beautiful Jackson Center, Ohio. The amazing author, buyer, of seller of vintage fabric, and the fabric trilogy, Fabric Wars, Today's Hunt for the Vintage Fabric, Fabric Wars as well, and Arlo at the Campus, the multi-talented Kira Hartley. Kira, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Thanks for joining us today.
Good afternoon, Mike. Thank you for having me. I'm glad we could connect.
Well, it's great to have you on board as well, too. You're an author, buyer, and seller of vintage fabric textiles for 20 plus years. You're also owner of an Etsy store. You're also a quilter, carpenter, and grandmother. Your stories have garnered national attention around the world for your fabric story, leading to several podcast appearances. Signed a TV deal with Yvonne Bernard with Lookout Entertainment. You also have a children's book called Arlo at the Camp Bus. You also have Fabric Wars, Today's Hunt for the vintage fabric, and also the insanity of online reselling with Etsy's Do.odd. Before getting all, Kira, tell us how you first got started.
Completely by accident. I always thought I was going to write. That was the only path I saw for myself. I started writing when I was a kid in school. I tried to write in my 20s. I created 4 amazingly long, wonderful, knowledgeable, suspenseful novels that over the course of 10 years went nowhere. I did have some experience with agents, some with publishers and whatnot. I gave it up for a long time. I ended up getting into resale, mostly because I ended up getting divorced and I needed some side hustling to make some money, help with the kids. So I started dabbling in buying and selling. eBay was brand new when I started buying and selling. And fabric was something that I came across accidentally. I didn't know a whole lot about fabric at the time, but it was something I could pick up on my budget. And so I just I dabbled in it. I learned what I could about it. I did a lot of research. I watched what other people were buying and selling. I eavesdropped it at auctions, listened to people talk about it. I had a friend that knew quite a bit more about fabric than I did that liked to buy and sell. So it just has been a journey. Fabric was, like I said, completely accidental. And the fact that it came full circle to writing books was also accidental. I was missing writing. I kind of feel like if you are a writer, writers always need to write. And so I started writing little descriptions on my Etsy selling pages, where the fabric came from, something the auctioneer was up to, something the competition was putting me through, just funny little stories. And my customers started telling me to put them together in a book.
That is interesting. What was that one exact precise moment that influenced you into getting fabrics?
That would be the day that I went into the backyard at an auction, and boxes of fabric from this estate were selling for $2 a box. And back then, cheap was the name of the game. When I started in eBay, you couldn't just pick up your phone and look things up on the fly. We didn't have that technology yet. So I had to go in with a gut feeling about something, but I was broke. I was a single mom. And so my language was dirt cheap, and $2 was usually fit the bill. And I'd buy all kinds of things for $2 and take it home and clean it up and list it and sell it and see what would happen. So yeah, it came to me because it was cheap.
Mm-hmm. And what are some of the fabrics that you've collected over the years? Some of the more common ones, and how about some of the rare ones?
One of the fabrics that is, I can't really say that it's rare. You can get onto eBay or Etsy and you can see lots of listings for it. It's called feed sack fabric. I think what makes it the most rare, though, are some of the patterns. So feed sack fabric came about during the Depression era, 1930s, 1920s, 1940s, all during that time, where not only was America trying to figure out how to scrimp and save money, but the companies that supplied American households were trying to help them do the same. So things like grain and flour and sugar, they used to come in cloth sacks with like a little drawstring, like a little pull string that would open it up. And before the Depression, those sacks were commonly white muslin. They would have a stamp on the front of it that showed what the company's logo was. So during the Depression era, they started to make those sacks out of things that more commonly resembled fabric that we sew with. You would have polka dots or flowers or checks or some sort of print that when that sack was empty, that the woman of the house would have about a yard's worth of fabric that she could make something with it. So these feed sacks, I don't think they have ever lost their popularity. But there are some patterns out there that will fetch hundreds and hundreds of dollars for that one sack. And there are some patterns that are maybe only worth $15. So hunting for those is exciting and it's fun. You want to get into mid-century fabrics. There is a bark cloth fabric that is a drapery fabric that was popular in the 30s, 40s, 50s. That is something that is really fun to hunt. If you get into the more common fabrics, I don't know, there's a type of fabric called broadcloth, and it's just your common everyday fabric. I sell all fabric that is out of print. I don't typically sell anything that is any newer than the early 2000s. The newer the fabric is, the more it was produced overseas, and it is a completely different kind of textile than what we used to get here once upon a time.
Mm-hmm. And do you run into silk often? And how much demand is for silk at your end? And how much does silk currently run for? How much to sell for? Silk.
Honestly, I don't do a whole lot in silk. The last silk that I sold was a silk. It was a silk brocade. It was like a silk. It had an Asian scene on it, and it was a garment type fabric. And it was something that was from World War II that the soldier had brought home to his wife. And that had value to it because of the decade, of the quality. I sell more quilting and crafting textiles than I do apparel textiles. So I can't really answer that to you a whole lot. I don't commonly hunt out the silk. I'm much more interested in the old cottons and the old linens and things like that.
Mm-hmm. You talk about the old cottons and old linens, they're manufactured back in the day. And how much does like an old cotton, old linen go for right now compared with the current cottons and linens out in the market?
You could, before Joann Fabric closed, you could buy on a sale day a yard of cotton quilting fabric, and you could pay maybe $3.95, something like that. You could pay $4 for a yard of fabric. If I'm selling you a piece of 1980s quilting cotton fabric, I'm going to be asking you about $4 for a fat quarter, and a fat quarter represents a fourth of that piece of fabric. Plus, that individual is going to pay shipping. But like I said, the difference in quality for the people who know are more than happy to pay it. Now, if you backtrack and you get down to the 1960s, if I sold you a piece of a fat quarter of that printed, say, turquoise and purple floral fabric, I'm going to ask $6 to $7 for a fat quarter of that fabric. You know, the older it is, the harder it is to find.
And do you think the quality of the cotton, linens, and all the materials have gotten better over time? Do you think the quality has improved or has a decrease up to today?
It is completely decreased. It's, again, once it went overseas for production, the materials that were used were not as quality. The cotton was not the same. The weave was not the same. How tightly it was woven together. The fibers are not the same. It's a difference between night and day. And I've been doing it so long that I can pick up a piece of fabric in my hand, and before I even open it up, because there's tons of different ways to tell how old a piece of fabric it is, but I can pick it up, and by the feel of it, I can zone in on about when it was made.
Mm-hmm. And now, do you do some appraising of fabric? Like, say, somebody came to you, like, you know, I have a piece of this, I have a piece of that, I bought from this time, that time. Now, do you do appraising of fabric?
Once in a while, I do a lot of speaking at quilt guilds. You know, quilting guilds have monthly meetings. All the members make quilts. And yes, when they have found out that I am coming to be their guest speaker, I have had instances where people have brought their fabric to me that was their aunts, their mothers, their grandmothers, and they have wanted my opinion on it. The problem is that when it becomes a piece of fabric that I really like or a collection, I get pretty busy trying to buy it from them. I have not been able to do that yet. It is much easier to buy fabric from people that have died than from people who are still alive. So.
Oh my gosh. And what's the rarest form of fabric that you encountered? And what's the strangest story that you have ever encountered with fabric?
So there is a fabric and this is no older than the 1980s. There's a type of fabric called flocked fabric. Flocked, like a lamb is flocked. And basically that's what it is. It has raised felt on the fabric that forms a design. And it was around in the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, but in the 80s, it's a semi-sheer fabric, and you might have a flocked flower on it that is really, really bright pink or yellow or blue, and they used to make little girls' dresses out of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's super desirable still, even though it's not as old as like the feed sack. So I went to one auction, and it's called Peon's Pole Barn in the first book. And this auction, the auctioneer had all of the fabric back in this really, really cold warehouse type building in the middle of winter, because auctioneers typically really don't care anything about fabric at all. So there was a lot of fabric that were in boxes, and there were bolts and bolts and bolts of fabric. And there were several ladies that were very clearly interested in the fabric, but there were also rows and rows of things also to be sold that maybe had nothing to do with fabric. Because I buy and sell everything, I look through all of those rows of boxes. I look and see what is in each and every one of them, because you never know when you're going to be surprised.
Right.
So inside, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Now, inside one of those boxes, underneath a briefcase and some other things, I found a partial bolt of this flocked fabric. And it was the bright pink flowers on white. They looked like little daisies. And I think I don't know, there were at least 2 or 3 yards on this bolt, maybe 4. I can't remember. It's been a while. So the women that were waiting on the fabric, they didn't know that fabric was there, because they came for the fabric. Oh, here's the fabric. I see it. It's the end of the row. I don't need to look any further. I can see it right in front of me. So they really kind of beat me up bidding on that fabric. And that fabric was more ordinary fabric. And after they were done buying it, they left, went home. Bye-bye. So I waited until they started selling those rows, and I got that box with that bolt in it for $2. And that bolt with its 3 or 4 yards on it ended up bringing me almost $700. just in
Oh
that.
my gosh. And how does she do it? We'll find out in the Fabric Wars with author Kira Hartley. But first, listen to the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios. Visit online at SoundCloudStudios.com for all your needs. Look at a professional website without breaking your budget. Sonic Web Studios is the answer. Sonic Web Studios offers fast, affordable custom web designs that blow the competition away. Call today, 1-800-303-3960. It's 1-800-303-3960, or email to support@SonicWebStudios.com. Mention the Mike Wagner Show. Get 20% off your first project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level. Also, time to give an official shout out to our official sponsor, the Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Molson-Zia. If you love fast-paced mysteries, you'll love Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing is fast-paced and intriguing with an unforgettable twist. Takes place in 4 countries, 2 strangers, 1 target, where truth is illusion and those will love you to first go missing. It's available on Amazon and paperback and ebook. Missing by Mia Molson-Zia has garnered great reviews. An Evil Evan endorsed by Howard celebrities including Joanna Cassie, Forrest Riley, and many others. So grab your copy today for goes Missing by Mia Molson-Zia, available on Amazon. Coming soon, Missing 2, Double Suspense, Double the Fun. Check it out on Amazon. Also brought to you by Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David, including theories, quiz of pains, and King David Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives new perspective of David through the Psalms he wrote as the time of shepherd started and complicate your turbulent relationship with King Saul. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, hope, and more. Check out the Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner on Amazon. Keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner. Also check out the Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, 50 podcast platforms, heard in 110 countries, including Facebook, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Music, BitChute, Rumble, and YouTube. Also follow us on Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, TikTok today. Take us with you on any mobile device. And for great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast, T-shirts, pop sockets, throw pillows, tote bags. Makes great gifts 24/7. Go to Amazon.com. Check out the Mike Wagner Show podcast. And for more great gift ideas, go to Amazon.com/Mia Molson-Zia for great books, merchandise, and more. And support the Mike Wagner Show on Anchor FM, PayPal, and the MikeWagnerShow.com. You're here with amazing author, buyer, and seller of vintage fabric and textiles for 20 plus years. And part of the Fabric Wars trilogy, Kira Hartley here on the Mike Wagner Show. And let's get into the Fabric Wars trilogy as well, too. And let me try to get the first book out there, which is Today's Hunt for the Vintage Fabric. And tell us more about that one.
Okay, so this was the first book. And I published this back in, it's been about a year and a half, so back in the end of 2023. And this was this book, you know, I aside from buying fabric cheap, old habits die hard. I also look for cheap marketing. So because I had so many of my Etsy family reach out to me and tell me you should write a book, the first people that I contacted after I wrote the book were those customers. So every time they would place an order, I had these pre-printed notes that I would stick inside of their package. You know, I mean, it was a nice note, but basically it said, hey, okay, I wrote the book, so how about you give it a shot? Pick it up here, or you can buy it there. And I didn't realize that when I was sticking these notes inside of the packages that I was sending one to a producer in California. And she was not a customer of mine before. In fact, I wondered how she had found me initially, because I received a message on Etsy that said, you know, I'm a TV producer in California, and how do you feel about reality TV? And okay, who are you? You know, how do you know me? Have you read the book? And I'm giving it a third degree, because when you self-publish, there are a lot of companies out there that will target you, and they will contact you, and they will try to sell you on their services for whatever it was. So I didn't know who she was. And then I realized, oh my gosh, she bought a piece of fabric from me. She bought a piece of scrap fabric from me for $3.
Really? Well, let me guess. It was polyester, right?
It was just a cotton piece of fabric that had a picture of an angel on it. She wanted to make something for Christmas, frame it or something. I don't know. But yes, it was just a really little piece of fabric. So we developed this relationship, and I did eventually sign a contract with her. She's been trying to work with me on you know, my social media and my branding and things like that. But this was right around the same time that I also had my first invitation to do a podcast. it also was when, again, we go into the free advertising. I was trying to figure out who my audience was going to be for this book. And so that's when I started to reach out to quilting guilds and soliciting myself as a speaker. And I did at least a dozen meetings for the first year. And then I got back into podcasting again. Meanwhile, I'm also working on the second book, and I published the second one back in May.
Now, you got on the reality TV show. We were contacted by, who was it? Yvonne Bernard. How did that show work out?
We have not done anything as of yet. She is the producer for the Goosebumps book series, actually the Fear Street movies that are an offshoot of the Goosebumps books. So R.L. Stine is her biggest client. Somebody like me is completely opposite from what she normally works, but we are in the same age range. We are both successful women with our own businesses, self-starters. She saw a lot of herself in me. So it was a project that she wanted to work on. Ohio to California, we have this big distance between us. So I'm trying to work on things on this end to try to increase awareness and branding. And yeah, so nothing to report on that yet.
Okay. And plus you also had some experiences with auctions and everything like that. Maybe you can share some stories, who you fought with, best auctioneer, or the worst ones, or even like, say, one of the more stranger stories about, you buy something that's unexpected, someone drops, or everything like that. Maybe you can share some stories, when it comes to these auctions and going to auction houses.
I go to a lot of auctions. Auctions, by far, it's my most favorite part of what I do. It's the exciting part, the competition part. And I was never somebody that genuinely, I've always been competitive, but not in person with somebody. So I really come a long way with this. And now that's my favorite part, is to get in there and get down and dirty. Beating out grandmothers for fabric is not nearly as fun as beating out men for things that they like to buy and would never think that a 50-some woman would buy and sell. But at this point, we all kind of know each other and we see each other all the time. So there's a lot of ribbing and teasing and we all fit right in. But as far as the fabric goes, one of the most popular stories in the first book is one that I call Thieving Thelma. And everybody in the book has a code name because I still have to show up and go to work with these people every day. Although I did run into another customer not that long ago who asked me if I was the author behind these books. And she said, I know who everybody is in these books. I was like, oh, okay, well. But anyway, so Thieving Thelma was an elderly woman and she was at the auction. And I don't genuinely have a lot of competition in the senior citizen crowd for the fabric. They're looking for a much better deal than what I am. I have stepped up my game. I can spend more now. They fizzle out pretty quick. So they're usually not very big competition. She got annoyed with me at one point during the sale because I was buying all the fabric. And when nobody was looking, she had a young man carry the last large box of fabric to her car that had not yet been sold.
Oh, wow.
And so, I had known that the fabric was there and that I intended to bid on it. And then when it disappeared, I had to go to the auctioneer. I said, I don't know what happened to this box of fabric. It has just vanished. And by then the young man had stepped forward and said, well, I put it into this woman's car. And so they confronted her and she was immediately, angry. And she says, I didn't steal the fabric. You know what I bought. I bought flowers. I bought baskets. And they walked to her car and there was box fabric. And so then she became indignant and she pointed at me and she said, but she's buying all the fabric. There's none left for any of us. And, and then I felt bad. And I know I was 10 shades of red because I don't like confrontation in that way, but they ended up throwing her out. And I have never in my life seen an 80-year-old woman. I don't know. It just blew me away that she stole the fabric and blamed me for it. So that was one of the more interesting events There's another story in that one called Krabby Patty. It's a 2-part, Krabby Patty and Honest Abe, also in the first book. She was the first time I really, really, really came up against hardcore competition. And I spent more money at those sales on fabric than I've ever spent ever. And I was very happy after those 2 auctions that I never saw her again. I don't know what happened to her. She disappeared. I'm okay with that. But it came down to just the 2 of us battling each other at those sales. Nobody else got anything except the 2 of us, and the boxes went really, really high. And the auctioneer, who in this case was Sir Grumples, he didn't care about fabric either until after the first sale. And then at the second sale, he walked around and told everybody that would listen, well, at the last sale, these boxes of fabric were selling for about $200 a piece, trying to drum up more business. So he advertises fabric a little more differently now than he did before that sale.
Okay. And plus, it also leads to your second book, The Insanity of Online Reselling. Continue with Essie's Dot Oddity. And if I got that right, what is Dot Oddity anyway?
Okay, so Dot Oddity is the name of my Etsy store. And we called my grandfather Dodd, D-O-D. He was somebody that believed in recycling and repurposing anything and everything that he could. And he was pretty creative. So Dot Oddity, I also recycle, repurpose. I sell a lot of textiles, quilts, and chenille blankets. I don't just sell fabric. Any old textile that still has a good part to it left, I will cut that out. They call them cutter pieces or cutter quilts or cutter blankets. There's a community out there that will buy the cutter pieces of old textiles and make something new. So Dot Oddity just happened. I opened the store. I said, all right, that's going to be it.
And what is the secret to bidding at the auctions? What are some of the tips or some of the things you do and you don't do when it comes to bidding?
I don't like to bring things forward. There are a lot of people that go to auctions and have a set amount of time. Maybe they're going to another auction, or maybe they just don't want to stay all day. Auctions typically can last all day long. So there are people that will go there, find what they want, and bring it forward to the front table to be sold first. The auctioneer is smart enough to know that if he lets that item sit there, he knows that people are watching people do this. And nowadays, people can pull out their phone and they can look something up on the fly and they can find out what something is worth. So he's going to give everybody else that opportunity to do just that. He is not going to pull it up right away and sell it. He's going to let that thing marinate for about 15 or 20 minutes and let everybody look at it and find out what it's worth before he sells it. So I don't do that. I don't want anybody knowing my secrets. I know a lot of really oddball things out there that are worth money, and I don't want to share my secrets. So I will wait until it's the very last thing at the end of the day until it sells. Usually at the end of the auction, the things that are in the backyard, the things that are in those row lots after everybody has gone home, the people that sit in the tent in their chairs with the tables and bid on all the collectible stuff in the books, those are the big bucks. When the big bucks come in, buy what they want and leave and go home, the rest of us get the stuff in the backyard, usually pretty cheap. So I will sit there all day long and I will wait. Another thing I like to do, when I am bidding on something, especially when it is fabric and there is a lot of it, usually they will bid for choice. The highest bidder can pick whatever they want on that table, and they can take it times however many times they want. In this situation, if there's 8 boxes of fabric on that table, I'm going to do whatever I can to be the high bidder the first time around, so that not only can I choose the boxes that I want, but I'm also letting people know that I'm here to play. And so that maybe the next time when the bidding starts for what's left on that table, maybe the other people will back down sooner. But that doesn't always happen. It did not happen with Krabby Patty. And I spent a lot of money trying to make my point.
Oh my gosh. How do you like those people? How about for beginners? What's the best advice you would give for beginners?
Now that you have the technology, now that we have the technology in front of us, and I see there are a lot of people out there that are trying to do what I do. And some things, yes, you can find out right away. You can find out values, but you can't always find out the history of something. So if you can do your research about an auction ahead of time, and you can look some things up and look at the actual history of what it sold for, how long ago, how many items are currently listed, how many items have sold. Ties are a big deal. There are 800,000 men's ties on there, but only about 1 in 10 ties are going to sell. You need to do your homework as much ahead of time as possible, and you need to get to the auction early so that you can walk around, you can look at things, you can look things up, you can get an idea. The only thing that's really going to make you super competitive, honestly, is longevity. There are things that were worth money 10 years ago that are not worth a dime right now. And you don't know that until you've been doing it for a long time and you see the trends come and go.
Mm-hmm. And plus with your Etsy site as well, too, with the dot oddity, how's that differentiate from the other Etsys and also differentiate from the other fabric sites?
I have my own market sort of carved out because I'm not the only person that sells estate fabric. I'm one of the few people that makes a big deal about selling estate fabric. I honor it. I highlight it. I say, hey, this is where it came from. I give some history behind it. I have a lot of customers that appreciate knowing where the fabric came from, and they appreciate knowing some history behind it, and they want to incorporate it into their own project. I highlight the fact that we are recycling and reusing what's already out there. And, I've backed it up with books. I've backed it up with podcasting. It's a whole lifestyle for this crafter and this creator and this quilter. And it's a community. We email and talk back and forth all the time about things that we're working on.
Okay. And maybe you can show us a couple of fabrics and give a history behind you.
Let's see here. All right. So this is a mid-century bark cloth fabric. And this was part of a curtain, okay? And some people will reuse it again for a curtain, and some people will take it apart and use it for something different. I went to a series of sales called the Black Hole, and I call it the Black Hole because I got sucked in very, very, very deep over the course of 6 sales. It took 6 sales to liquidate this collection that these people had. They collected everything mid-century. So this is bark cloth, and it's nubby. It's like a cotton fabric, but it has kind of a nubbiness to it. And again, it was used for making curtains. So that probably right there is about 1960s. You can kind of tell because of the earth tones. Those are colors that were popular in the 50s and the 60s. Mm-hmm. And then if you look at this one I really like. This is another. These are going to be mostly upholstery fabrics that are behind me. But this is another piece from a mid-century curtain. That's a pink, which you can hardly see. But the pinks started to come into play, especially with the browns. Again, you're talking about the 50s and the 60s. This is a cotton. And the longer you do fabric, the more you start to understand things like polyester and fabrics did not really come in until the late 1950s. So there are things that you can do. You can do burn tests to determine what kind of fabric content or fiber content is in the fabric that you have, and that helps to date it. There is the width of fabric because the width is determined by the size loom that it was made on, and that helps to date the fabric. Let's see what other ones I have here. All right, this one's a linen one, and linen was super popular too during the 50s and the 60s. And this kind of has an embroidered pattern on it.
Okay.
This is also an upholstery and a drapery fabric. I don't think I have any quilting cottons up on this shelf. Those are mostly in totes and containers. But linen has a different weave than cotton does, and they all burn differently. If you do a burn test on linen, you get a slightly different kind of ash than a burn test on cotton. There's mostly what's behind me are, here's another bark cloth. This one is more 50s. These colors were also iconic during that era. And you can also see, it's upside down. You can also see the pattern that was used, the pictures that are used. It's just, yeah. So anyway.
Looks like something for Christmas. Reminds me of Christmas colors.
You don't see that much bark cloth in the green and the red. You know, the dark green in the floral patterns was real popular in the 30s. The big elaborate like Hawaiian floral bark cloth with the dark green and the pink.
Okay. And plus, you got the 2 books out right now in the Fabric Wars trilogy. You also have another book out there, which is called About Arlo. Find out more about that with Kira Hartley. You listen to The Mike Wagner Show at the MikeWagnerShow.com, powered by SoundCloud Studios, brought to you by official sponsor of The Mike Wagner Show, international warring author Mia Moses and Missing, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, based on the life of David Queen, 30 Quiz of Pains and Candy Abbott Psalms, Amazon.com, keyword Sweet Psalmist Serena Wagner. We'll be back to multi-talented author, buyer and seller of vintage fabric, Kira Hartley and the Fabric Wars after this time.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention The Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey there, Dana Alexa here, American News anchor. Hey, let me ask you something real quick. Why do you read a book? You're buying a story, a thought, a message, and a good book entertains and inspires, and that's exactly what Missing by award-winning author Mian Zia does. I have his book right here, and it's based on real events with relatable characters that hook you from start to finish. I personally love this book. It's super powerful and meaningful. You can actually get it on Amazon right now.
The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Serena Wagner's book, The Sweet Psalmist, now available on Amazon. This book includes 30 exquisite paintings by well-known and unknown painters and King David Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives us a new perspective on his life in this book. Through the Psalms he wrote, his time as a shepherd in the field is where the book starts, and it goes on to describe his complicated and turbulent relationship with King Saul as well as other events. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, and more. It also offers advice on approaching God and living a life that pleases him. Check out the book, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, now available on Amazon. Keywords, Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner.
Hey, this is Ray Powers, and boy, are you in luck. Right place, right time. Tuned in to the Mike Wagner Show. You heard me.
Rebecca author Kira Hartley of Fabric Wars, and also a new book about Arlo was a nothing bus here on the Mike Wagner Show. And speaking of Arlo, tell us more about him.
Okay, here's Arlo. That's got a glare on it.
Or the camp bus, I should say. I'm sorry, the camp bus.
No, it's all good. It's all good. As busy as I am, I mean, I have the 2 shops. You know, we've been renovating this old house. We live on a 5-acre farm. We have horses, ducks, chickens, and we have 8 grandchildren. I will drop everything I am doing any day of the week if I find out grandchildren are coming to the house. So we have camp on the farm every year for the 8 grandchildren. They come for a week. We host what we call Camp Klinger, and we have been doing it 11 years now.
Okay.
At one point, we realized that we needed a better way to get all the kids around. We wanted to go to the pool once in a while. I mean, we have this big, huge pond with an old boat and a water slide. So they love to stay here, but sometimes they want to go to the pool too, or we want to go to the movies. One year, we finally did it. We bought an old city transit bus, and my husband did all the mechanics, and I did all the painting and the decorating and whatnot. My mother, forever and ever and ever, told me, you really need to start writing the camp stories. And my friend, who painted the covers to my Fabric Wars books, kept telling me, I really want an illustrated children's book. So it's like, okay, well, let's do it. I liked what your guest said. What did she say? She said, someday is not on the calendar. So I was like, okay, well, if we're going to do it, let's do it. And so I wrote the story, and she painted the pictures. and we just released it. Oh gosh, just the beginning of July. I mean, I released Fabric Wars 2 in May, and then this one followed on its heels the beginning of July. Not because I wasn't ready, but the artist had a bigger job than I did. But we are just now starting to take Arlo on the road. And actually what I would love to do is take the camp bus and the book to, I just threw it, to schools and libraries and things like that, and do small group readings on the bus. But I've always had like a special interest in children, and I especially want to promote positive emotions in children and positive experiences. This camp has become really important to us. I love the thought of the kids sharing stories with their own grandchildren one day about coming to camp when they were little. So every book in the series helps to celebrate different emotions in children. And this is all about how we found the bus and how Arlo was lonely and sad and dirty, and just the whole transformation and all the different emotions that Arlo goes through throughout this process of becoming a camp bus from a nothing bus. And the message at the end of the book is, I am loved. And so we even had those little silicone wristbands. We had silicone wristbands made that has that secret message on the inside when you flip it over that says, I am loved.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, that sounds amazing as well. Where can we find the Fabric War trilogy? Your Arlo, the camp bus, and also all your works at, Kira?
They are all available on Amazon. You can also go to my shop, Oddity, on Etsy. I don't have Arlo up there yet, but if you message me that you're interested in Arlo, I can certainly make it happen. But the books on Etsy, I'm able to sign before I send them off.
Okay, what's the website again?
My Etsy shop is Oddity, DODODDITY, and the 3 books are available on Amazon as well as on Etsy. My Instagram handle is the same thing. It's Oddity. I post a lot of videos and a lot of content for my shop there. And you can find me on LinkedIn too. Yeah.
All right, we'll certainly check that out. We're here, amazing multi-talented Kira Hartley of the Fabric Wars and Arlo the Camp Bus here on the Mike Wagner Show. Kira, just a few more things. What else can we expect for you for the rest of the year and beyond going to 26?
Well, you mentioned the trilogy, and it will be a trilogy indeed. Fabric Wars Galore it's coming. I'm only about on the 3rd or 4th chapter of it. It will be coming. So I'm working on that. I just wrote the manuscript for the second Arlo book, which is Arlo and the drippy chocolate ice cream cone. I'm hoping that'll be out by the end of the year. I'm doing podcasts and just day by day.
There you go. And I think that's a really good thing as well, too. Who do you consider biggest influence in a career?
Oh, boy. That is a really hard question. I should have known that question was coming. I really have to throw this one out to my parents. I started very young in my life as a mother, as a wife, as a writer, everything that I did. And the one thing that they always instilled in me was that I could do anything if I tried. And so, yeah, I mean, it's been a long journey. I've been writing for a long time. Never knew it was going to come together the way that it did. But had I given up trying back in my 20s, I'm not even quite sure what I'd be doing right now.
And I think that's a really good experience as well. What's the best advice you can give to anybody at this point?
That if you have a dream, the only person that will really fight for it is yourself. I mean, people can cheer you on, and I strongly suggest surrounding yourself with the right people. Having the wrong people in your circle during your journey, it's only going to make you stop more often. The right people will keep pushing you to keep going. And if you want it to happen at the end of the day, there's only one person who can do it. And you have to get up every day with that on your mind.
Right. And I think that's great advice as well during this time. We're an amazing multi-talent author, buyer, seller of vintage fabric and the Fabric Wars trilogy, along with Arlo Camp Bus, Kira Hartley on the Mike Wagner Show. Kira, very big thank you for your time. You've been absolutely amazing. Loved your stuff. Looking forward to having soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. Love to have you back. What's your website? How do people contact you? Where can people purchase or check out your works?
Yes. So again, stop on by on my Etsy shop. I love to chat. It's Dot Oddity, DODODDITY. That's on Etsy. You can find me on Instagram under the same handle, also Dot Oddity, and I will chat with you there. I love to talk shop and see what everybody's making. Find my books on Amazon.
All right. Well, certainly check those out. Once again, Kira, everybody, thank you for your time. You've been absolutely fantastic. Looking forward to having soon. Keep us up to date. Keep in touch. We'll have you back. We wish you all the best. And Kira, you definitely have a great future ahead of you.
Thank you, Mike. Thanks for having me.
The Mike Wagner Show is powered by Sonic Web Studios. If you're looking to start or upgrade your online presence, visit www.sonicwebstudios.com for all of your online needs. Call 1-800-303-3960 or visit us online at www.sonicwebstudios.com to get started today. Mention the Mike Wagner Show and get 20% off your project. Sonic Web Studios. Take your image to the next level.
Hey there, Dana Alexa here, American news anchor. Hey, let me ask you something real quick. Why do you read a book? You're buying a story, a thought, a message, and a good book entertains and inspires, and that's exactly what Missing by award-winning author Mian Zia does. I have his book right here, and it's based on real events with relatable characters that hook you from start to finish. I personally love this book. It's super powerful and meaningful. You can actually get it on Amazon right now.
The Mike Wagner Show is brought to you by Serena Wagner's book, The Sweet Psalmist, now available on Amazon. This book includes 30 exquisite paintings by well-known and unknown painters and King David Psalms. The Sweet Psalmist gives us a new perspective on his life in this book. Through the Psalms he wrote, his time as a shepherd in the field is where the book starts, and it goes on to describe his complicated and turbulent relationship with King Saul as well as other events. It's a story of love, betrayal, repentance, and more. It also offers advice on approaching God and living a life that pleases him. Check out the book, The Sweet Psalmist by Serena Wagner, now available on Amazon. Keywords, Sweet Psalmist, Serena Wagner.
Thanks for listening to the Mike Wagner Show, powered by Sonic Web Studios. Visit online at sonicwebstudios.com for all your needs. The Mike Wagner Show can be heard on Spreaker, Spotify, iHeartRadio, iTunes, YouTube, Anchor FM, Radio Public, and themikewagnershow.com. Please support our program with your donations at themikewagnershow.com. Join us again next time for another great episode of The Mike Wagner Show.